Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. Thank you so very much for being here. You're going to be seeing this on, hang on, just show you what's going on here. Atlas, Atlas, are you making a cameo? Hmm? Yeah? Okay, how about you sit down and be a good boy? Sorry about that. Um, so it's sort of a long weekend. It's a holiday weekend for many people. So I want to keep this short and brief because I'm sure you have lots of other things to occupy your time. So first of all, thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate the ongoing support and encouragement. I am starting to feel a little bit better. So thank you for all of the lovely Reiki and healing energy and light energy that I received. It's always so amazing when you do that because I really do feel the impact of it quite quickly. So enough about that. So as I've been kind of reclining in my bed, so you've got, South Carolina, you've got people Democrats crossing the floor to become Republicans. And giving, frankly, the Republicans, I guess, even more power in a already very lopsided, I guess, legislature. You've got what's going on in Tennessee right now, which is shameful, absolutely shameful. So you have 3 Democrats who, they're trying to kick out of office, expel, because they dared to agree with their constituents that maybe they should do something about gun legislation so that kids stop getting killed. But apparently, nope, that's not what they're interested in. So, and there's God knows, there's heaven only knows. And so on the other hand, God, I hope I get the state right. Wisconsin, was it, that just had that election and they voted in a more liberal female judge to their Supreme Court. And the legislature is already talking about impeaching her. She hasn't done anything. She hasn't even been sworn in yet. Like that kind of crazy is going on right now. And so I'm going to do a direct channeling because I think that it's just important that all of us take a step back, take a deep breath, and look at this from 30,000 feet and see if we can figure out or come to some clarity or gain some insight about why this is going on and what the ramifications, what the consequences of this kind of stuff is going to be. Okay, so that's the question. Question is simply, Spirit, please give us some insight and guidance with regards to the movement within politics across the board, but specifically within the United States, where you have a very old guard who is doing everything and anything to destroy basically any idea, thought, concept that is outside of their realm of their belief structure. Here we go. Okay. So they're showing me a really interesting picture. They're showing me a picture of a building that is sort of imploding in on itself. So I'm sure most of you have seen like a picture, like when they're going to dynamite a building to bring it down, and how it just sort of almost like in slow motion, it just kind of collapses in on itself, almost as if the weight of it just obliterates the foundation. And that is exactly what is going on right now within the Republican Party. So even though it makes the hair on our, the back of our neck stand up in horror, it is important to understand that some of these structures, particularly this political party, have been in existence for a long time. And frankly, it's just time for them to get a renewal. It's time for them to get back down to basics and sort of reinvent themselves. But in order for them to reinvent themselves, first they have to be completely demolished. Okay? And so what is creating that demolish energy? It's a whole bunch of stuff. It is about dimension shift energy. It is about astrological energy. It is about people energy. So what you have is a very conscious shift towards higher vibration ideas, attitudes. And what we are witnessing is that lower consciousness, that lower vibration group of people who are fighting with everything they have, and they become more and more outrageous, whether it is Trump and pictures of him with a baseball bat, or whether it is Jim Jordan acting like an absolute fool, trying to subpoena everybody and their dog who has anything to do with any Trump investigation. You just have, and of course, there's Mark Meadows who just, goes along with whatever basically Marjorie Taylor Greene tells him to. And hey, by the way, did you guys see in New York, that man just ripping a piece off of Marjorie Taylor Greene and telling her to get the hell back to Washington and do her job? That was pretty good. I also, many of you have commented on the shot of Trump coming into the courthouse and the sort of door closing on him, which was also kind of funny. But so there's all this insanity going on, and we're trying to make sense of it. So the easiest way to make sense of it is literally to picture that building just imploding in on itself, because that's what happened. And the more ridiculous they become, the more insane their behavior, the faster they are going to meet with their ruin. All right. So I need to tell you, as I'm energetically, they're showing me sort of a pathway forward, and they're saying, listen up, 2023 is going to be a lot of things, but there is a lot that has to get broken down so that the beginning of the building blocks to rebuild it in a higher consciousness format, there's space for that to take place and happen. So where we're at right now is, I often refer to those old white Republicans as the dinosaurs, because that's sort of what they are. And in some ways, the Democrats, the independents, the smart Republicans, the youth, oh my God, the youth of today, they're going to be like the Ice Age. We're just going to take them out because they no longer serve a purpose. Okay? So how do we do that? Well, we do it by becoming unbelievably engaged in politics on all levels, because what we're seeing now is the states, individual states are just going crazy with whether it is abortion laws or book banning or drag banning, for God's sake. Like, people are dying when they go to school, and you're worrying about banning a book. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. But that's where they're focused, because of course they don't really have an agenda. They don't have anything really to say, because they're so desperate, like clinging to the side of a cliff that they're sort of slowly, descending on. And that's what's really important to understand. It may feel like the end of the world, but I want you to shift your perspective so that you're looking at it as a clearing the path, so that new and higher vibration and higher intention behavior has room to sort of, take root and grow. So for those of you who've been watching my channel, particularly the Insights channel, the Soulprint Insights channel, you'll know that I often refer to sort of those of us who are in their, 60s, 70s, 80s, etc., as sort of the flower children, right? The flower children of the 60s and 70s. Well, what they did was they planted the seeds. They planted the seeds so that the next generation and the next generation and the next generation would find sort of that more inclusive, the power of love, energy, that whole sphere. They would find it would become normal for them, okay, as the generations went by. Certainly not in every single family, and heaven knows not for every single, hippie out there, okay? But there is that as the trend. About 20, 30, 40 years ago. So initially, there was a grouping of souls that were being born that were called and referred to as the indigos because they had this sort of indigo color um, in their auras. And they were in many ways sort of the first wave of the kind of more inclusive simply way of living, whether that was more inclusive in terms of, combining Eastern and Western medicine, whether it was more inclusive in terms of sort of by and large getting rid of things like, same-sex only schools. There was just more integration, okay? Then about 20 years ago, and this is broad sweeping, about 20 years ago, they're ushered in another group of souls, and they became known as the rainbows. And the reason they got the name was because literally teachers and parents started noticing that all these kids of around the same age were all drawing rainbows everywhere. So they got named the rainbows. So this is the thing that the first wave brought in a sense of sort of kind of breaking down some of the walls, breaking down some of the boxes with which we were confined to. The rainbows, as they are now, in their late to early 20s, even some perhaps in their late teens, those people have just an absolute different way of looking at things, and they are committed and they are determined. And more than anything, they are annoyed because the world that they are supposed to be inheriting is so much less than their parents or their grandparents received. We've damaged it. We've destroyed it that much. And so this is the generation that you see protesting. And it doesn't matter if they're white or black or brown or purple or orange. They're protesting because this is about fundamentally protecting their future, their life, their literally life, because they go to school and have gone into states of absolute terror because there's been an active shooter on their school premises. Now, the generation that follows them, so those are the little ones now, they are pure love. Okay, they are just pure love. And so you can see just by spirit soul groups that are coming back to the planet, there is this sort of acceleration to a higher level of understanding. There is, a heightening, if you will, of the vibration of consciousness. And they came in massive, huge waves. And if you happen to be a parent or a grandparent who is expecting new little ones in your family, dollars to donuts, they're going to be part of that heart, that loving soul group, because that's just what they came here to accomplish. Just like the indigos all those years ago came here to start pushing down the boxes and the barriers. The next group that came in was about thinking outside the box, looking at things differently, taking a different view on sort of concepts that have been set in concrete for a really long time and were not working. And they were like, okay, well, so what, we're the generation that's going to make it work. Somehow we're going to do that. And what you see with these 20-something-year-olds in government now is they are starting to take their place in positions of power where real change can be effected. So everybody just take a deep breath. Sometimes we get so sort of wrapped up in the day-to-day, the mundane, the back and forth, etc., that we sort of lose sight of the big picture. And so I really, really like that they gave us that picture of the building that's sort of imploding in on itself. Because if you want to put something new in an existing space, which I guess is what you could call the political parties, right? In order for the GOP to reinvent itself in a way that is palatable, who and what they are now has to implode. And the way it's going to implode is because their behavior, literally day by day, week by week, month by month, is becoming so breathtakingly insane. They are fighting back tooth and nail with everything they have, because they're actually finally starting to recognize that they're threatened. Their livelihood, their status, their way of thinking, their belief structures are by and large being threatened by an increase in people who are independent Democrat and smart thinking Republicans. That energy is shifting. What was acceptable 20 years ago is not acceptable now. What was acceptable 40 years ago or 60 years now? Before, honestly, in some cases, we're looking at it and we're appalled at the things that were just considered normal or acceptable back then. So it's really, really important that we understand that we are here, we are witnessing this. The reason we're here and witnessing it is so that we can continue to send out light energy, so that we can send out prayer, so that we can have hope, so that we and those around us can become engaged to a point and a place where when these old ideas try to become like entrenched and dig themselves in to our laws and our rules, what they are facing is unbelievable pushback. And even though right now there are pockets where those Republican governments, particularly statewide, have a tremendous amount of power because they've been gerrymandered and whatever else. But understand, elections are the great equalizer. Okay, and yes, I know stuff is gerrymandered. I know. But when it comes right down to it, what's going on now, the behavior of Republicans right now is going to continue to push the rest to paying attention and voting them out. Because that's really where these transitions are able to sort of not only take place, but sort of dig some roots in. When Trump was initially elected and we started to see just how pretzel-like the Republicans were going to turn themselves into to accommodate this madman, I said then that it would be several generations before the Republicans basically got into any significant power again. Because what they're doing now, whether it be statewide or city or federal, is they are tearing down. No, what they're doing is they're trying to tear down any attempts to move into that higher shifting energy and hold on to that which, frankly, its time is done. It no longer works. I mean, listen, we can all love and adore our grandparents, our elderly parents, but we do recognize on some level that the world that they grew up in has no bearing to the world we live in now. It's just that simple. And so the things that work when Grassley and McConnell and all the rest of them were in their 30s and 40s. Wow, they don't work now. And what they're finding is that the harder they're trying to shove it down someone's throat, the more resistance they are getting. And the resistance is building and building and building. That's where we're at right now. So try to remember to keep this in a higher version. Look at it from 30,000 feet and recognize that there are patterns. There are sort of a wave. You can almost see the wave sort of mowing over or mowing down the behaviors. I mean, this thing where this judge got this female judge, I think her name's Janet, was elected into that state's grand jury or Supreme Court or whatever. I think it's Supreme Court, I guess, for the state is what it's called. And they're already talking about impeaching her. What? She beat the opponent by like 11 points, and somehow you think because you're a Republican and you want to have control over women's bodies that she should be impeached. This is insane. And this is a kind of extreme behavior that is going to continue to accelerate on that side of the political equation. So understand, the more they act out, the harder the pushback is going to be against them. And so while it can be frightening and scary and exasperating, every time they do something crazy and they get that pushback, that's a good thing. And ultimately, they're going to lose so much traction that they're just going to fall over. So, this is Easter week for many. I know Ramadan started last week. I'm not sure when it ends. I apologize. But this is a time of renewal, rebirth, new growth. So always remember, you're planting a garden, right? You have to till the earth. You have to dig up all the old dormant stuff that's sitting in the ground before you can plant those new seeds. And that is the process we are going through right now. And if you are here and you are engaged, trust me, you're supposed to be. Because every one of you, each in your own ways, does the light work. Whether you do it by energy work or by prayer or phone calls to your government officials, whether you do it just by talking to friends of yours and neighbors, however you do it, you're all part of that light work that is being done to build like a parameter, like a safeguard around the new, more quickly moving, shifting energy. And as I said, I don't know, a couple of videos ago, what you're going to find is that in the next coming months and years, you're going to find that a lot of people who had a lot of power and who abused said power are going to discover that they no longer have a place or a space, because overall, the majority of people that surround them do not agree, do not think the way they think. So while it makes us crazy, let's all keep up the good work, okay? Because we're doing amazing work. We're allowing this stuff to move forward and move forward and move forward in a way that has more momentum than I think that we realize on a day-by-day level, okay? So I am wishing you an amazing weekend, however you do or do not celebrate it. As for My little family, we're going to keep it very, very low key and very quiet. Of course, this is our first Easter without my sister Coco, and so we're slowly adjusting, and we're doing okay. Thank you so much again for all of the love and support you sent that way for us. And I wish you and yours all the very, very best this weekend has to offer. Until next time, take care, be well, and we'll see you really, really soon. Bye bye.